Brother lads, welcome back to the Cossy Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy. We'll come back to a brand new video. This is the latest Arsenal news and transfer news as well. The striker situation at Arsenal rambles on. We have a big problem, and that is Nketiah. Arsenal are struggling to sell Nketiah, and that is getting in the way of us signing a new striker. But also, time is not our biggest ally. Arsenal have less than 20 days to sign a striker. Otherwise, the market is closing down, and the Premier League is also beginning very, very soon. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well. It's a little bit different now as opposed to a week ago, because a week ago, Nketiah was leaving to Marseille. We knew that, but that deal has broken now, and that means that Gyokeres and Osimhen to Arsenal, also those deals are completely off at the moment. We're going to be diving into some of the repercussions of Nketiah staying at Arsenal, because more reports are now saying Nketiah is looking likely to stay at Arsenal rather than leave. That's a very bad statement I've just made there, but let's dive into the latest and the explanation of what is going on. So I want to start with the Victor Gyokeres situation, because the Victor Gyokeres situation is still very clear. And again, today we've got a confirmation from Portuguese sources that Arsenal view him as a top priority should they sign a striker this summer. Osimhen has been offered, Ivanson is available on the market. All those players are available, but Arsenal look at Gyokeres as the player they want to land at the Emirates Stadium this summer if we are going to sign a striker. Now, Gyokeres is the easier deal because, again, just like Merino, much of the things are in place. Much of the things are known. We know how much he's going to cost. We know how much he's going to earn. And we know that he wants to join Arsenal. And we also know that Sporting Lisbon might reduce on that asking price. But before we get into the negotiations with Lisbon, the negotiations with the player, we have to first clean our home before we can add another player to the squad. So news coming out today from The Athletic have confirmed that Arsenal will not sign any forward player before sales. And when we talk about sales, we mean Nketiah and Reece Nelson, because the other players on that forward line, the other player we would have sold is Emile Smith-Rowe, who is, according to my knowledge, completely already gone. So when you think about Arsenal selling before they buy, and this leads into the Nketiah situation, that makes things very difficult, because Nketiah's deal to Olympique Marseille has completely been broken by Arsenal's resolve and Olympique Marseille's unwillingness to raise the level of the bid they were willing to place on Nketiah. So Olympique Marseille clearly wanted to pay 27 million euros for the player. The agreed personal terms with Nketiah, it is unlikely, and we do not know yet whether they're going to revisit the situation. But at the moment, it looks like it doesn't look like they're going to revisit it. So Arsenal declined the offer, and they made a substantial demand. Arsenal told Marseille, "You're going to give us 35 million euros, including add-ons, and you're also going to give us a sell-on clause on Nketiah." Now, I've seen a few people on Twitter say, on what world, on what planet is Nketiah a 35 million pound striker? And then I'll ask you, in what world is a guy called Samuel Omorodian from Atletico Madrid to Chelsea worth that kind of money? So I think the striker market is broken. The transfer market is broken already. And that's where Arsenal are trying to take advantage. They're saying if Julian Alvarez, a guy that has not been playing regularly for Pep Guardiola, is 90 million euros worth, then no question, no, there are no questions about it. We are going to sell Nketiah for at least a third, 35 million euros. And I agree. I've already told you that I 100% back my team with that decision. Nketiah doesn't go anywhere for 25 million euros. If you want, 25 million euros, 27 million euros, that is the amount of money Chelsea sold Omar Hutchinson for. An academy project going to Ipswich for 22 million. So if Hutchinson is 22 million, Nketiah cannot be 22 million as well. I mean, if you convert 27 million to pounds, it goes to it goes around 21, 22 million. So Arsenal saying we are going to have to sell Reece Nelson and Nketiah in order for us to go and sign a forward player who could be Gyokeres, right? But at the moment, who do we sell them to? And that's why I'm scared, because I've seen a report from the Independent. They've been saying that Arsenal are very, very poised and are very, very prepared to keep Nketiah for another year if they cannot find a buyer. That's where the problem is. That's where the problem is. Now, I don't subscribe to the idea of Nketiah going for less than 30 million euros, but I don't subscribe to the idea of Nketiah staying at Arsenal. These are my two reasons. One, we don't get a striker. As simple as that. If Eddie stays, we don't get a striker. We're going to talk about that. But the second reason why Eddie has to go this summer is the reason as to why Emil Smith Rowe has gone. Arsenal must cash in on Eddie Nketiah while his value is still up there. Imagine next summer, this season, Kai Havertz scores 20 goals and Gabriel Jesus scores 9 or 11 goals. They're the two main attackers at Arsenal. They're the two main strikers at Arsenal. What happens? What happens to Eddie Nketiah? Next summer, clubs are going to come in and they'll say, you know, he's not even played any kind of football in the last season. How about we give you 20 million? And we have to agree. The Ramsdale situation, when Raya came in, Ramsdale chopping, but just sitting on the bench for all that while, it affected his value. It affected him, and that's why we are struggling to sell him. And the same with Eddie. If Eddie Nketiah had not been abandoned by Mikel Arteta for the whole second part of the season, maybe it would have been easier for us to sell. Maybe if he had scored like 5 goals in the second, half of the campaign, maybe it would be easier for us to sell him. So at the moment, Eddie stays, we don't get a striker. And then next summer, he goes for pennies. Again, it doesn't work. It really, really doesn't work for us. So Eddie Nketiah's situation, I think it will be resolved. I think we'll get a solution. It might not be the solution that Arsenal want, but I bet we'll get a team that wants to take him on loan maybe with an obligation to buy. Now, the problem with this is when. If you're going to move on 2 players, Reiss Nelson and Eddie Nketiah, and both of them are earning 100,000 pounds per week, that's a problem. That's a very big problem. Where do you move them to? Who is willing to pay their wages and then pay you massive transfer fees? Because we want a combined 55 or 60 million euros from those two. It would be reasonable. It would be reasonable. It is it's what? It's they're real talents. They're good players. But for 100,000 wages per week and 60 million euros, who is going to give you that money? So Arsenal are on stranded island. We are on, I don't know what kind of island we are on, but I can confirm that we are stranded and we absolutely need help. So that is the Eddie Nketiah situation. The Victor Gyokeres situation, like I've said at the beginning of this video, has not changed. If Arsenal can make a move on player side, green light. On Sporting CP side, they are willing to sell as long as the price is right. So the situation has not changed. Arsenal know whatever is going on. Arsenal know the conditions and terms for that deal. We either want to do it or we don't want to do it. And I also understand that the policy is 1 in, 1 out. So Gyokeres cannot come in to add to Nketiah, Reiss Nelson, Gabriel Jesus, and Kai Havertz. I tell you guys, I don't even think Arsenal have a striker right now. Like, when I talk about all these guys, and their names, none of them sounds like a striker to me. But we've got to get 1 out or 2 in order to introduce Victor Gyokeres. Now, I want us to talk about Osimhen as well, because I think we can no longer ignore the fact that Osimhen is the hottest cake and prospect on the market. Like, any club right now looking for a striker might wake up and the news is your club has signed Victor Osimhen for a whooping 80 million euros. It could happen. I'm not saying it's happening to Arsenal. I'm saying any club. Now, I've seen Nicolo Scherer confirming that PSG have walked away from, Chelsea have walked away from the Osimhen situation. It's now PSG and Arsenal monitoring the situation of the player. And of course, all the other Saudi Arabian pro clubs have been chased away by the player and his entourage. They would love to play in the Premier League At worst, stay in Europe. Now, with Osimhen, it will be a shock deal. If it happens, it will be a shock deal. Like, it's one that I had completely erased out of my memory, erased off my books. I think I have a lot of, Osimhen stories in this book, but I had erased all of them because I looked at the price and I'm like, okay, Arsenal are not going to pay that. And then I looked at the interest in Victor Gyokeres, and it was confirmed that Arsenal's interest was stronger in Gyokeres than Osimhen. But there could be a U-turn on Osimhen, and this is the reason for the U-turn. Time is running out. Running out on Arsenal, running out on Napoli, right? Time is running out. So that means that whatever happens, Napoli will have to sell quickly in order for them to get Romelu Lukaku. And of course, to get rid of Osimhen, because you don't want him to stay as part of your wage structure if he's not going to be part of the resources the manager is going to use. So time is running out on them. That is going to force them into a decision where they have to cut the price of the player massively. And that's why Arsenal, I'm saying, because Gyokeres is having a stubborn seller. Sporting CP are saying, if you want to buy, please, the price is £86 million. If you don't want to buy, don't disturb us. Napoli on the other side are saying, if you guys, we are selling for 130 million euros. Anyone? And Napoli eventually will drop the price of Osimhen faster and quicker than one of those quickies that you guys have on a Sunday morning. I think Osimhen's price will drop to 90 million euros. I think it will drop to 90 million euros. That's around 76 or 75 million pounds, around 78 million pounds. I think it will drop around to that price, around there. Because they brought him in at 65, if they sell him at 75 or 80 million, it will make sense. And with the likes of Julian Alvarez now going to Atletico Madrid, you expect to see the striker market making a few moves and here and there. So why I wouldn't rule out Osimhen now to Arsenal is, what if Arsenal take a long time to deal with their Nketiah situation, which is more likely? What if we take a long time to deal with our Reece Nelson situation, which is very likely as well? And after taking our time, we are left with 2-3 days to the end of the window, and there are two options. Gyokeres, who has a very, very tough negotiator in Sporting CP, or Osimhen, whose price might have dropped at the time. So I think what Napoli and Sporting CP feel, and one's actions is going to influence the other. So Napoli feel our player is better, more proven, and he's kind of a world-class striker, and we agree. So they're saying we're not dropping the price. But if Napoli drop the price, Gyokeres' price either drops or it stays there. If Gyokeres' price drops and Arsenal sign Gyokeres, or Liverpool sign Gyokeres, or PSG sign Gyokeres, then Osimhen will stay at Napoli. So I think it's a game of waiting, right? It's a game of waiting. Let's wait and see who drops the price first. For me, I think Osimhen drops because they're under more pressure to sell. Sporting at the moment, I cannot lie, they can use him for another year and then they sell him. He will still be in his prime. So, could Osimhen be the one? I don't see Arsenal paying that money unless the price drops to the extent where we look at it as a market opportunity. I mean, we thought about swap deals. Could Kivior be part of it? Could Ramsdale be part of it? You never know, right? But at the moment, looks like both Osimhen and Gyokeres have some ground to be our next striker next season. Now, I want to talk about Nketiah staying in regards to us not saying a striker. That will be our worst mistake. That, when you repeat something so many times, you become an absolute idiot. And if we keep Nketiah again, and we don't sign a striker, and we don't sign a backup for Saka, we will have done the the most incredible um, achievement as idiots, because every single summer we try to sign a winger. Every single summer we sing about a striker, and somehow we meander, and somehow we just run away from it. We just run away from it. So at the moment, Arsenal have to wake up. We've got to wake up. A striker is a necessity, whether we like it or not, whether we want it or not. A striker is a necessity, and a very, very, very big one. If we don't get one, I think we've already seen how the likes of ATM are spending 90 million on Julian Alvarez. Why would they? 90 million on Julian Alvarez. I was shocked, guys. I was really shocked. But anyway, I think we are still working on one, but the chances of not getting anyone this summer are like now at 3.5 out of 10, and they're increasing, not decreasing. That's the problem.